Chris Mannix, the intrepid Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer's most recent column, NBA must not let the season's return distract from Black Lives Matter movement. And Chris joins us now from Boston. How did this start, Chris, that you had some of these players bringing up their concerns about if we play basketball, it takes away from what is going on, this social platform that they have right now?
Well, Dan, Kyrie Irving was the driving force behind this recent call. And his message to the 80-plus players that were on this call was that, there should be some consideration put into the fact that once we go down there and start playing again, the narrative shifts entirely. And look, he's not wrong. I mean, when players show up in Orlando, media that's been clamoring to, get a piece of them for the better part of the last few months will start writing about LeBron James's chase for a championship and Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia. And, what is the status of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George with the Clippers? And, there are players, Irving the most vocal among them, that believe this is a time in this country's history, a movement where that kind of distraction just simply shouldn't take place. So that was the impetus behind that phone call, to let players speak out on issues like this as they try to make a decision.
Okay, but in the end, ultimately, it feels like it's LeBron James's decision here. Even Patrick Beverley, who doesn't get along with LeBron, tweeted out, "LeBron wants to hoop, we're hooping here." Is there? I just don't know Kyrie Irving's plan, Chris. If he has a detailed plan of, if we don't play basketball, then what do we do? And can you do both in your bubble in Orlando?
No, look, LeBron's position, which has been an ongoing position for him, dating back to 2017. I wrote about the time when Donald Trump was going after the NFL players for kneeling. LeBron said specifically, "My voice is stronger than my knee." And he's always held that position, that if he's out there in the forefront, he can do more good than if he boycotts something or takes a more divisive stand. So I think a lot of players will follow suit. I think Kyrie Irving's only plan and his push to players was, look, just don't show up, and you send a pretty strong message about the strength of this movement. Don't be part of the ultimate distraction. I mean, look, I have a hard time, Dan, as a white man, kind of quibbling with Kyrie on this. I've never walked a mile in his shoes. I've never experienced some of the things that he's experienced. So if he feels this strongly that not showing up sends a stronger message than showing up, it's fine to have a difference of opinion with LeBron. It's just the way Kyrie, and I can tell you a number of other players, feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I said this from the outset. Sometimes we'll shoot the messenger and not listen to the message. And I think Kyrie can be polarizing. And I want to listen to the message. And I'm right there with you. I don't know what he's experienced. I just want to know, if there is no basketball, is there a plan, or is that the statement they're going to make? This is so important, we are going to forego an NBA season. Plus, Kyrie not playing, that probably may draw, a little bit of a, well, wait a minute here. If he was playing and LeBron wasn't playing, would, he be saying the same thing? And maybe that's not fair, but the fact that he's not going to be playing and LeBron has a chance at another championship, they worked hard all season to get the number one seed, all of these things. So, I don't know, you kind of throw it into the pot here, and I'm not sure what the commissioner thinks about all of this, and how does he troubleshoot this?
Well, to your point, Dan, from a public perception standpoint, there really could not have been a worse messenger than Kyrie Irving, because of the fact that he's not playing, and he spent the better part of the last 2 years viewed as one of the more divisive forces in the NBA, with the locker room and everything that happened in Boston and his subsequent move over to Brooklyn. All that being said, there's going to be a season. Like, the NBA is not even remotely considering the possibility of not coming back. There's just not a belief, and I think this belief, this feeling is strong enough, that there's not a belief there's not going to be enough players that decide not to go. There'll be a few players, maybe even more than a few players, that decide not to go, but not enough that would deter the NBA, or the union for that matter, which has been in lockstep with the NBA throughout this process, from not bringing the game back. The question is, in the next couple of days and weeks, what kind of statements will the NBA send? What kind of actions will they take to try to convince the players that are on the fence about this that coming back is the right thing? Will it be some form of donation or a commitment to do something while you're in Orlando that will keep the spotlight on this social justice movement? I think that's something, I know that's something the NBA is discussing actively and will probably have something to reveal in the coming days and weeks.
We're talking to Chris Mannix, a Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer. I was also wondering, you have Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley on the same team as LeBron James. This isn't cause for concern?
At this point, no. If we get to a different point, maybe. Look, Dwight Howard's agent's already come out and said, like, he hasn't made any decisions yet. Dwight had that statement, but then his agent kind of countered it. And I don't think Avery Bradley's made any strong decisions yet either. I think, knowing Avery Bradley a little bit, I think Avery just wants to see something come from the NBA, like I was talking about, some sort of plan to keep the pressure on or keep the spotlight on this particular issue. But Dan, it's important to note too that players are not speaking with one voice on all this. I mean, there are myriad issues out there that players are kind of sifting through at this moment. I mean, health concerns continue to be real. I mean, the NBA is talking about a bubble, but the fact that Disney employees might be able to come and go as they please, I mean, it makes it more of a spaghetti strainer than it is an actual bubble. I mean, you've got players that are going to be quarantined in there, but others that are staff workers might be coming in and out. I mean, I don't care how much personal protective gear you're wearing or how much distance you're keeping from players, you're still running a risk that you can cause infection. So that's a concern. And let's be real, Dan, for a lot of players, mostly the guys in their 20s, there are lifestyle issues here. Like, not a lot of guys are eager to go quarantine down to Orlando for several months, especially the ones that don't play golf and that might just feel like they're just stuck in one place, doing nothing.
And I was wondering about that, just the physical condition could decide who wins this championship, because once you get there in late July, then it starts. You don't have much ramp-up time. I've seen pictures of James Harden working out. Looks like he's lost 15 pounds, but here's a guy who has asthma who's going to be going down into that bubble there. I don't know what LeBron has been doing or the Greek Freak has been doing, but, that could go a long way in deciding who's going to win this championship, is just who's in the best shape.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was talking to Brett Brown, the Sixers coach, about this just yesterday. And one of the things that Brett said was, as important as physical shape is, it's about kind of your mental state as you go down to Orlando. I mean, this is going to be a completely new situation where at a bare minimum, you're probably going to be there 30, 40 days. And if you're successful, significantly longer. How mentally steeled are you for this type of kind of setup? And also, how well do you get along with your teammates? Like, I mean, you're going to be in proximity with these guys for a significant amount of time. Like, do you have the kind of camaraderie that you probably need to have to survive? I mean, these things, at least to a coach like Brett Brown, and I'm sure others, these things are just as important as the physical issues.
That stove behind you, be honest, how many times have you used that in the last year?
Do we include pasta?
All right, I'll let you sneak that in. If I got rid of pasta, how many times have you used that stove?
Oh, I mean, I think my old softball gloves inside the actual stove. I don't think that's actually been used. I mean, if you look behind me at the fridge, if I open it up, I'm pretty sure there'd be, I don't know, like 3/4 pound of salami.
Can you
Girl
open
Scout
it up?
cookies. I'm not doing that. There's no way. There's no way that's happening. I'm afraid of what's in there, to be quite honest.
Case of Bud Light in there, some Gatorade.
Easily,
right?
Easily.
Yeah.
I'm into Sobe water now, so that's kind of probably a bunch of that. No.
Soft. Hey, good to talk to you. I also saw where the Players Association doesn't expect fans at NBA games next season.
Well, a little bit too soon to tell.
Yeah.
On that one. I mean, it's one of the questions that's going to be coming up, Dan, is will the NBA keep fans out of stands completely, or will they look at states that are allowing things to happen and say, you can put fans in stands? I mean, this is going to be something that comes up because owners of those teams are going to say, like, if you're Mark Cuban in Dallas or, in San Antonio or the Rockets, like where Texas is starting to open up significantly already, are you going to say, look, you're going to cost me all that revenue when my state says I can open up and have 3/4 of capacity? Florida, which we've seen open up already, a couple of teams down there. This is going to be a challenge. If there are states like New York and California that are still operating under significant restrictions, how will the NBA, how will they sort of thread that needle where they have these owners that are able to make money off fans and stands, but they can't do it because the rest of the league can't. That's a challenge, believe me, that the NBA is talking about right now.
Good to talk to you, Chris. Thanks as always. We appreciate your time.
All right, Dan.